In this critique, I'm going to be lunging him with both moving the shoulders over and yielding the hindquarters. So first I teach, at this point in time, I would teach him to lunge and then yield his hindquarters. And once he kind of had that, then we worked on moving the shoulders and then I would combine them together. Again, very bad sequencing, just got a lot of pressure to send him off. You can see his tail swishing, his head's high. He's really pulling away from me a little bit there, trying to get toward the gate. He's giving me a pretty typical response where he's kind of getting duller to the flag because I'm using it at such a high rate that he's just kind of like that last turn there, and especially here on this hindquarter yield. Ignore the text at the bottom, I couldn't get it off, but he just kind of kept going, and like he probably didn't really understand what I wanted either because I hadn't really asked him to yield his hindquarters with the flag before. So he just keeps going. He's trying to avoid it, obviously, because that's pressure. So this is a pretty typical reaction to the flag because he doesn't understand at this point that what I want is to yield his hindquarters. So he tries to run away from it because I'm applying pressure and chasing him with it. That's a pretty typical response, is to run away. And then you have to use your lead rope to apply pressure so where he's just yielding his hindquarters and facing you versus just running off. So that's a pretty typical response. Again, way too much pressure. I need to be slowing down that sequence. You can see his head here. He just seems kind of confused. His shoulders really pushed out, ears kind of to the side. His face looks a little bit tense. Unfortunately, it's pretty far. It's like, this is a pretty old video, so I don't have a good view of that. But yeah, you can see compared to the other video, the last two, or last one, he's not going into the lunging circle as quickly. There, he's picked up that if he yields his hindquarters, I stop chasing him with the bag. That's essentially that's what negative reinforcement is. So he'll learn, okay, I will do this behavior before you apply this pressure so that this pressure doesn't happen. So in this case, I'm going to yield my hindquarters so that the bag doesn't chase me as much. But what's tricky about this, not all horses will get it, not all trainers will get it, especially with negative reinforcement. See, now he's confused because that same pressure with the bag means two different things. So you can see his shoulders are really going out, he's really pulling to the side. I mean, none of this lunging is good for him physically, but you can see here how now I'm trying to push his shoulders over and have him go forward, but very similarly earlier I was trying to yield his hindquarters over. So at the time, and you might not be able to tell from this angle, but I'm trying to get the hindquarters so that like that bag is going toward his hip, and then now I'm trying to push it to his shoulder. But this is the first lesson of it, so this is a pretty common occurrence where the horse is confused. It's just the bag is coming at him. It's like, what do I do? So yes, they can figure it out, but this is a good example of that, of them not sure what it means at this point in time because it's very similar. It's just this bag coming at them. So if you want to teach it with negative reinforcement, you have to be very clear, and I need to be a lot slower with if I'm going to use the end of the rope or a whip or a bag. It needs to be very clear and like so he understands. Like there, he's not going forward. Like he's confused. So there he's yielding his hindquarters because he learned that pretty quickly. If he could just stop, then the pressure would stop. So, and then he's going out on the circle. So he's starting to get it, but it's very messy. And I could have done it a lot better, even with just using negative reinforcement, not even using positive reinforcement, which is what I would do now. But I could just be a lot less like swinging with this bag. This is just a ton of pressure, and I know we see this all the time. Like this is a pretty common occurrence with horse training, but I want to show this example. This is a lot of pressure for a horse, um, especially with a flag, because it's something that could be scary. So you could get a horse really running away, or you could get a horse running at you and trying to get the flag or get you. That's definitely a possibility. So good example of using way too much pressure. So we need to use a lot less.